Have you ever wondered how data travel across the internet? How does our message, video, and email reach the destination very securely? Hi everyone, welcome to this video on the OSI model, the foundation of the modern networking. The OSI, which is Open System Interconnection Model, is a seven-layer framework that explains how data moves from one device to another device over network. In this video, we will break down each layer, its function, how they work together, and to make the communication seamless. So let's move to the video. Before going into what is known about OSI model, we can know about how they created. So what is the purpose of OSI model? That is, in earlier days of networking, different companies built their own communication system that couldn't interact with each other. That if a company have their own protocol and other company can't able to interact with them. So that was the main issue they were faced. That is, various telecom companies had their own property protocol, make it impossible for different devices and network to communicate. That when it is increasing the network connection and the usage, so they can't able to communicate, they can't able to share the things. So to solve this issue in the late 1970s, the International Organization for Standardization, which is ISO, began working on a universal framework. In 1984, they introduced the Open System Interconnection, which is OSI model, a seven-layer reference model designed to standardize the communication with each other, communicate across all the devices and network. The OSI model became a foundation for networking, defining how data flows step by step, physical and transformation to application level. That is, from the transmission level to application level processing. So, through this TCP/IP model, it is more widely used today. The OSI model remains the key reference for the understanding the network concept. So, we understood that why we created OSI model. What is the purpose of OSI model? Now, let's look what is OSI model. So let's look what is OSI model. So OSI model and the layer of the OSI model, we are going to discuss it. So the OSI model, which is the open system interconnection model, is a set of rules that explain how different computer systems communicate over a network. That is, OSI model was developed by International Organization for Standardization, ISO. The OSI model consists of seven layers. Each layer has specific functions, responsibility. This layer approach make it easier for different devices, the technology to work together. So OSI model provide a clear structure for data transformation and the management and network issues. So the OSI model is wisely used for reference to understand how the network system function. That is, from this, I hope you understand what is OSI model. That OSI model is an open system interconnection. That it is a set of rules. That is a set of rules that explaining how different computer system communicate over a network. So this is a set of rules that we want to communicate between the computers and over the internet. That is OSI model developed by the International Organization of Standardization, which is ISO. The OSI model consists of seven layers, that each layer has its own specification, its own responsibility, functions, and etc. So this layer approach make it easier from different device and technology to work together. So now let's look what are the each layers. So this is a picture representation of the OSI model, that is application, presentation, section layer, transport layer, network, data link, and physical. So it can be like from the client side, client means we, the user. From the user side, it is starting from the layer 7. That is, from here it is starting. That from the 7 layer, that is we are interacting, that is a layer page, is that application. And the thing that physical means where the zeros and ones are reaching. But in the servers layer, from the application layer, the transformation, and it will reach here from the zeros and 1, and it is moving through this from the layer 1 to the layer 7 to the server side. That is, from the here it is transfer acting like an application from here. So from here it is from the client side, server side is starting and going through these steps and reaching here, and from this the server side. We can this is just a picture representation, you will understand by knowing more about that. So this is the 7 layer of OSI model. that is it all the specific characters each have its own specification. So it is from the physical layer, data link layer, network layer, transport layer, section layer, presentation layer and application layer. So if you, it is easy to start from the application layer, that is user area, that is we can able to understand firstly and fastly, which is layer 7, that is application layer. Now let's look. So at the very top of the OSI reference model stack layer, we can find the application layer, which is implemented by the network application. This application produces the data to be transferred over the network. This layer is also serve as a window for the application servers to access the network for displaying the surveyed and information to the user. So it is not that hard as in the system, as is in the explanation. In simple way we can say that application layer, which is a 7th layer, that is example that we can say that ordering food online, that the function is that provide user interface and the services, and this a food delivery app lets you browse menus, help orders and track deliveries. The application layer enable user to interact like a browser, website or a sending email. So that is where the application layer is a user interaction area. That is, from this picture we can see that from the application layer a user is sending a request, and from the website it is getting a request to content to required format. That is, in simple way we can say application layer is where the user interacted area, where users say what they want and they will type in the browser that what they want, that is typing the URL, and automatically using the internet and DNS it will give the result. So this is the application layer where the user interface acts. We can look the functions of the application layer. The main function of the application layer are given below, that is network virtual terminal, that is NVT. It allows user to log on a remote host. And second is the file transfer access and management, that is FTAM. That is application allow user to access the file in a remote host and retrieve the file in a remote host and manage or control the file from the remote computer. And the mail service provide email services, directory services. This application provide a distributed source of their access of global information about various objects and services. So this is the function of the application layer, which means that were the user given a file transfer access or a mail services. Now let's look what is the second layer, which is the layer 6, that is presentation layer. So the presentation layer is also called as translation layer. That the data from the application layer is extracted here and manipulated as per the required format to the transmit over the network. The protocol used for this presentation is the layer by JPEG, MPEG, GIF, LTLS, SSL. That is, in the application layer we said that here the protocol used in the application layer, which is SMTP, FTP, DNS and etc. That is more for a protocol. In application layer there is so many protocols are used. That's sorry that I forgot to explain later. That is, in the application layer we use SMTP, which is that is symbol mail transfer protocol, that we use for the protocol that we use to send email over the internet. And that is the FTP, that is DNS, and this is the main protocol we use, and there is HTTP and other protocols also. And in the presentation layer we can see JPEG, MPEG, GF, GLS and SSL. This is the layer protocol we used. That is, for example, we can say that from the application layer, that is layer 7, user interaction is happening. That user, that we open a Gmail and typing a message and sending click. And SMTP, that is a symbol mail transfer protocol used to transfer the email. And that is writing a letter and giving it to the post office for a delivery, that is happening here. And in the presentation layer what is happening, that is it is formatting and encrypting, that our mail, that the email text, images, attachment are converted into a format that can be transmitted, that is like HTML, ASIC, that ASICI, that if encryption is enabled, that is TLS, that our mail is encrypted and to secure and its content. That in a simple example analog, we can say that the letter is translated to a standard format and placed inside a secure envelope. So this is what happening in the presentation layer. Nothing but from the application layer, what is our giving a letter, it is making an encrypted and it is converted, and it is like formatting and convert encrypted is happening in the presentation layer. That is, it is presenting how it should be. It is for a secure way. Now let's look the functions. I hope you understand what is presentation layer. That is, in this data happening, that is our data that is encrypted, we compress and we translate it. That is what we got it, we also compress and we encrypt it. So this is the process is happening in between here. So the function said that is translation. As in the picture I saw that translation, it is the first function. That is, for example, that ASIC and EBCDIS. So this is translating our human language into machine languages. That is translating here. And in encryption and decryption means a data encryptor translate the data into another form or a code. That encrypted data is also known as cryptress. That the decrypted data is also known as a plain text. A key value is used for the encryption as well as a decryption data. So, and also the next function is compressed. That is, reduce the number of bits that need to be transmitted on the network. So this is the functions of the presentation layer, which is translating a menu into our languages, or our language is translated into what they understand, the computer languages. That is the main function. It is using that format, encrypt and compress the data for application layer or from the application layer. It is both processes happening here. And we can see an analog, that is just a restaurant translate its menu for the customers, and the presentation layer ensure that data is a readable format for application like converting the images and or encrypted data from the security. Now let's look what is section layer. The section layer, that is, a section layer is a OSI model that is responsible for establishment of a connection, management of connection, termination of section between the two devices. That is, it's also provide an authentication and security protocol used for the section layer are NetBits or PPT. That is, in a simple term, we can say that a section is a connection that is established between, for example, our email client, that is, or Gmail client, or a Google mail server. That is, we are making a connection between the Gmail, that is the email client, and the Google mail server. That this layer starts and manage and choose the sections when they mail and it sends successfully. That is, they made a connection and this layer started and they manages, they close the section when the mail that sent successfully. And the simple analogy, we can say that a phone call is started between you and a post office to confirm the delivery process. That as we told in the as an example that before, from the application layer we given a post that layer writing a letter. In the presentation layer we make it in encrypted, we compress, we make in a translated, we make in a good security form. And in the section layer we are doing a phone, that is a phone call that start between we and the post office to confirm the delivery process. So this is the section layer. That we can see the what are the functions that section layer have. That is section establishment, manage, maintenance and termination. That this section is allow you to process the establish the use, termination and the connection, which means this layer allow us the process to add a checkpoint, that is considered as the synchronization point to the data, and dialog controller, which means the section layer allow two systems to start communication with each other in a half duplex or a full duplex. That is, for example, we can see that let's consider a scenario that when the user want to send message through some message application like a browser, they're running through the browser, that the messenger here act like a application layer which provide the user with an interface to create a data. This message is called the data that from the user, and it is compressed, we compress in the layer, and is optically we compressed and optionally encrypted in the layer presentation layer and converted into bytes, and so it can be transmitted. Now let's look what is a transport layer. A transport layer ensures that the end-to-end delivery of complete message between the devices. Data is called segmented. That which means a data is divided into small, very small parts and divided. So that is called as segmentation. That the data we are transferring, that is called segmentation. It provides a service like acknowledgement of successful transmission, retransmission of the lost data, error handling. The protocol use, which in this we use the protocol is TCP, UDP, NetBIOS and PPTP. And at the sender side, the transport layer performs a segmentation at the source and destination. The port number to the header ensure the flow of error control before sending a data to the network layer. At the server side, it read at a port number before and it perform sequencing and reassessment and segment data forward to approximate application. So this is simple. We can say that a data we got it from the section layer, we are making the data will be in a segment form. The data we got, we will check any transmission, any lost data, any error handling, any issues is there, we will check that. For example, we can say that from the email we send an email, that the email is broken into a small segmented for transmission, for easy transmission, and there is some protocol that happens in between, that is TCP, UDP according to the file. The transmission control protocol is happen and ensure that reliable deliveries by adding the sequence number of error checking. That it is means that we are making our data in a segmentation form and we are numbering it, and at last it is confirming that error checking that the data is at the place of the sender or receiver side it reached correctly. That is, for an analogy we can say that the letter is divided into multiple pages, that we send a letter and that the letter is divided into multiple pages and the number properly, and so that we when pages arrive late, that can be reassembled correctly. So this is what means a transport layer, which is that the transportation place. That in the picture we can see that we make the data in a segmentation, we made our data in a segmentation form, that our data is look like this in a letter form, and we made our data in like our each layer, and we transmitted. So this data is transmitted, and when it reach, it will reassemble into the original data form. So this is what happened. Happy. The functions is that we can see there are two main protocol we are using in this, that is transmission control protocol, that is TCP, and another one is UDP, that is user diagram protocol. The TCP, that is known as transmission control protocol, is one of the main protocol of internet protocol suite, that it lies between the application and the network layer, which are used to provide reliable delivery services. This is a connection-oriented protocol for communication that helps the exchange of message between the different devices over the network and the internet protocol, which establishes the technique of sending data packet between the computer work with TCP. So this is simple, that is a client is sending a message, that it is sending and it is in a segmentation form, and when it reach here, and it also segment and acknowledgement the packet and acknowledgement the packet. That is TCP is the main thing we are using. We say that it is the main protocol that we use in the internet protocol suite. That is because TCP verify that we divided our each segmentation, that TCP verify that each packet reaches at the destination. If it is not, it will inform that email www.com FTP. This is the examples we will use here. And the UDP is like a transport layer protocol, that is UDP part of internet suite referred to a UDP IP suite. Like unlike TCP, it is reliable and connectionless protocol. So there is no need to establish a connection between the data transfer. The UDP helps to establish low latency, low tolerating connection established over the network. The UDP enable the process to process communication, that we will use for the online gaming, real-time multi-screen. That is when TCP is like a secure. If any single data or a segmentation is missed, it will send acknowledgement to the where it got from the server side. Then after that getting the whole correctly segmented packet, then it will confirm it. But in the UDP, it is only happen when the user the client giving a request to here, the client is sending a request about to get a packet. Then the response is like and without checking anything, is everything correct and it has missed. Even though if this packet is missed, nothing is happening, it will just send a thing. So for that we are using mainly we use online UDP for the online gaming and real-time multimedia streaming, that which is not an secure or which is not sure that the data should be reached. But for the email www or the file transmission protocol, we are using FTP. Now let's look what is transmission layer, network layer. That is network layer work on the transmission of data from one host to other host located in different network. It is also take care of a packet routing, that is a section of shortest path to transmit the packet. From the number of routines available and the sender and receiver's IP address are placed in the header by the network layer, and the segment the network layer is referred as a packet. That network layer is implemented by networking devices such as router and switches. So that is the packet creation, it is routing, and packet is assembling. That for example we can, with an example we can say that routing the email, that each segment is wrapped into a packet with the source and destination, that is in IP address, that our IP address and the mail server IP address. That's the best path is selected and the send mail through the different network. So in the network layer it is selecting which is the best path we have to send, that is checking it is want to go through the TCP layer or UDP, it is checking here. That we can say with our example that the post service added the sender receiver address and find the best route to deliver the letter. That is routing. We told that two things are happening, that is routing. The network layer protocol determine which is suitable for the source destination, and this function to the network layer is known as routing. And the logical addressing means this identify each device in the network uniquely. The network layer define and address the scheme. The sender and receiver's IP address are placed in a header by a network layer, such as address distinguish and each device uniquely universally. Now let's look what is a data link layer. Data link layer. The data link layer error-free node to node transfer over the physical layer, that it receive packet from the network layer and transmit them to destination host using MAC address. Data in this layer referred as a frame. Common devices at this layer including switches and bridges. So the data link layer have two sublayers, which is logical link layer, logically control, and media access control. That it also handle the encapsulation to the sender and receiver, that is a MAC address in a frame header. The receiver's MAC address and obtaining using ARP, that is address resolution protocol, which require the network for corresponding MAC address. That is nothing but a frame creation, a local network driving and transfer the frames between the net. That we can say that for the simple example that a packet is converting the frames and assigned a MAC address, that I told a MAC address, which is a unique physical address of a devices that is permanent, and this ensure that it reach the correct router and switch within the network. For example, we can say our letter is stamped and sorted in our post service and workers on the based on the street address. The functions of the data link layer, that is framing, that is converting data into frames by adding the special bit pattern to mark start and end of the data. Physical addressing means a data add sender and receiver MAC address in the frame and header. And error control, which means detect and transmit the damaged or lost frames. Flow control means a manage data transfer speed to prevent the corruption. Access control, that determine which device control and share the communication channel by using the MAC subsidiary. Now we can see the last and the first layer, that is the lowest layer of the OSI reference a model in the physical layer. It is responsible for actual physical connection between the devices, that a physical layer contains information from the form in the form of bit. We told that from the application as a user giving, and when it reach in the physical layer, it in the form of bits. A physical layer is responsible for transmitting integer bit from one node to next. When receiving data, this layer will be set a signal and receive and convert the zeros and ones and send into the data link layer. which will a port frame back together. And common physical layer divided are hub, repeater, and modem and cables. So that is our sending cable and receiver cable. It will transmit in the form of a physical layer. That is, a function is data transmission, signal encoding and decoding, bitrate data, transformation mode, physical medium selection. So in simple example, we can say the physical layer, that is the first layer, transmission over the network. The data is converted into electrical signal, radio waves or optical signals that is sent through the Wi-Fi, fiber optics and Ethernet cable. For example, we can say analogy that a post office truck physically deliver a letter to the receiver post office. So this is how data reaches the receiver. A receiver's mail server gets the mail, and the mail travel through the OSI layer, that is physical data link network, transport section, presentation, application layer, and the reception open the Gmail and which read the email and display it is in a human readable form. That we can say that it's like a writing a letter, formatting it, ensure it is correctly an address, deliver it through the postal system, finally having a receiver open and read it. So this is how the data flow through all the OSI layer when sending an email. Now, that is shortly we can say we transfer information from one device to another. It travels through the 7 layer of the OSI model, that is application layer where application is created. Presentation layer is a data is formatted and encrypted. And the section layer where the connection and established and managed. The transport layer means a data is broken into segment and reliable delivery. And the segment are packed into packet routed, and data link layer the packet are framed and sent to the next devices, and the physical layer the frame are converted bits and transmitted physically. So this is the whole step and a whole model of the OSI model. I hope you understand what is the OSI model. So that's how the OSI model ensures that the smooth communication across the network. Each layer plays a crucial role from the user interaction to the data transmission and the delivery. While the modern network primarily uses a TCP/IP model, the OSI model remains the foundation for understanding how the data flow and through the network. I hope this video helped you and understand the OSI model in a simple way. If you found this useful, do not forget to like, share and subscribe for more videos and content. So let me know in comment if you have any question or I want to change anything, I want to improve any work. Thank you. See you next video.